India and China, two ancient civilizations, share a history intertwined for millennia. The Silk Road, a testament to their early interdependence, fostered cultural exchange and trade for centuries. Buddhism, originating in India, found fertile ground in China, further cementing their connection. However, this shared past is not without its complexities.
The 20th century witnessed a shift in the dynamics between the two nations. The establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949 and India's independence in 1947 marked a new era. While initial interactions were characterized by the Hindi-Chini bye-bye spirit, underlying tensions soon surfaced. The 1962 border war, a defining moment, cast a long shadow over bilateral relations. It led to mistrust and suspicion, shaping perceptions for decades. Since then, the relationship has oscillated between cooperation and competition. Despite ongoing efforts to normalize ties, the shadow of the past continues to linger. The unresolved border issue remains a major point of contention, hindering the full potential of the relationship.
At the heart of the India-China rivalry lies a complex dispute over their shared Himalayan border. The 3,488-kilometer line of actual control, poorly demarcated and contested, serves as a volatile flashpoint. Both nations maintain significant military presence in the region, heightening the risk of miscalculation or escalation.
The Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh regions remain particularly contentious. China controls Aksai Chin, claimed by India as part of Ladakh. Conversely, China claims Arunachal Pradesh, an Indian state, as South Tibet. These overlapping claims fuel territorial disputes, impacting bilateral relations.
Adding to the volatility are frequent transgressions and standoffs along the LAC. The 2020 Galwan Valley clash, resulting in casualties on both sides, underscored the fragility of peace. Such incidents erode trust and increase the potential for wider conflict. The border dispute is not just about land, it reflects deeper issues of national pride, strategic significance, and regional dominance. For both India and China, territorial integrity is non-negotiable, making compromise difficult and raising the specter of conflict.
Beyond territorial disputes, economic factors add another layer of complexity to the India-China relationship. Both nations, experiencing rapid economic growth, are vying for influence on the global stage. This competition, while often portrayed as a zero-sum game, presents both opportunities and challenges.
Trade, a key aspect of their economic interaction, reflects this duality. China is India's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade exceeding $100 billion annually. However, a massive trade deficit in India's favor raises concerns in New Delhi, prompting calls for reducing dependence on Chinese imports.
Furthermore, both nations aspire to be manufacturing powerhouses, leading to inevitable competition. Sectors like technology, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy witness intense rivalry, often spilling over into allegations of unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. This economic interplay is further complicated by their respective geopolitical ambitions. Both India and China are actively pursuing infrastructure projects and investments across Asia and Africa, leading to inevitable comparisons and at times friction.
The geographical realities of the India-China relationship further complicate the path to lasting peace. The Himalayas, once natural barriers, are now zones of strategic contestation. Military infrastructure development on both sides highlights the region's growing militarization.
The Tibetan Plateau, a source of major rivers and strategically significant, adds another dimension to the rivalry. China's firm control over Tibet raises concerns in India, particularly regarding water security and potential military maneuvers.
Adding to India's strategic anxieties is China's growing naval presence in the Indian Ocean. The string of pearls theory, alleging a Chinese strategy to encircle India with strategically located ports, stokes fears in New Delhi about Beijing's long-term intentions. This geographical chess match underscores the strategic calculations shaping India-China relations. Each move, whether infrastructure development or military deployment, is analyzed for its potential impact on the regional balance of power, fueling suspicion and mistrust. Section 5. A New World Order. Global Power Dynamics and the India-China Equation. The India-China rivalry cannot be viewed in isolation. global power dynamics, particularly the evolving relationship between the United States and China, cast a long shadow.
As the U.S. increasingly views China as a strategic competitor, India finds itself being courted as a potential counterweight. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, or Quad, comprising the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India, exemplifies this dynamic. While not a formal alliance, the Quad aims to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific, seen by many as a counter to China's growing assertiveness.
India, however, walks a tightrope. It seeks to safeguard its interests and counter Chinese influence without being drawn into a direct confrontation. Maintaining strategic autonomy remains paramount for New Delhi, even as it deepens partnerships with countries wary of China's rise.
The evolving global order presents both opportunities and challenges for India and China. While competition is inevitable, finding avenues for cooperation, particularly on issues of shared concern like climate change and global health, becomes crucial for regional and global stability.
Flashpoint Himalayas, potential triggers for a Sino-Indian conflict. Several potential flashpoints could ignite a conflict, unintended or otherwise. Miscalculation or unforeseen escalation along the disputed border could spiral out of control.
An accidental clash along the line of actual control, like the 2020 Galwan Valley incident.
A major terrorist attack on Indian soil with links to groups from Chinese territory.
A future Tibetan uprising against Chinese rule, perceived by Beijing as instigated by India.
These potential triggers highlight the precarious nature of the India-China relationship. Envisioning the unthinkable, scenarios of war. Envisioning a full-blown war between India and China highlights catastrophic consequences. Exploring potential scenarios reveals the devastating stakes involved.
One scenario involves a limited border conflict escalating rapidly. Initial skirmishes could draw both nations into a wider confrontation.
Another scenario envisions a conflict sparked by a non-military event. The ensuing blame game could lead to military mobilization and conflict.
A third scenario involves the conflict spilling beyond the immediate border. Cyber attacks and economic warfare could trigger global turmoil.
These scenarios underscore the need for restraint and responsible statecraft.
Section 8. The humanitarian crisis in the shadow of war. Beyond the geopolitical implications, a war between India and China would unleash a humanitarian catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. Millions of lives would be directly impacted with devastating consequences for civilians caught in the crossfire.
The densely populated regions along the India-China border would bear the brunt of the conflict. Displacement, already a concern due to natural disasters and climate change, would reach unprecedented levels, overwhelming existing humanitarian capacities. Access to basic necessities like food, water, and healthcare would be severely compromised.
The breakdown of supply chains and the destruction of infrastructure would exacerbate the crisis, leading to widespread suffering and loss of life. Moreover, the psychological toll on affected populations would be immeasurable. Trauma, displacement, and the loss of loved ones would leave lasting scars, impacting generations to come.
The human cost of such a conflict would far outweigh any perceived political or strategic gains.
Section 9. Global aftershocks, economic and geopolitical fallout of a Sino-Indian war. A Sino-Indian war would trigger shockwaves throughout the global economy and upend the geopolitical order. The interconnected world ensures consequences would be felt far and wide.
Economically, it would disrupt global supply chains, impacting industries reliant on both nations. The ripple effects could trigger market volatility and recession.
Geopolitically, it would shatter the balance of power, forcing nations to choose sides. Both nations must prioritize dialogue, diplomacy, and cooperation to prevent such a scenario. Diplomacy and dialogue as conflict prevention. A path to peace and stability between India and China is not an impossible dream. It requires diplomacy, dialogue, and a commitment to peaceful coexistence.
Building trust and addressing historical grievances are essential steps. Sustained dialogue at various levels is crucial.
Regular engagement can prevent minor disputes from escalating. Confidence-building measures are essential. These include border management and joint military exercises.
Section 11. Towards a shared future, cooperation, coexistence, and the promise of amity. The India-China relationship stands at a crossroads. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, but also presents opportunities for cooperation and shared prosperity.
Recognizing their shared history, interconnected economies, and common challenges, both nations must strive to build a future based on mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation.
The world watches with bated breath as these two giants navigate their complex relationship. The choices they make will shape not only their destinies, but also the future of Asia and the world.
Instead of succumbing to the siren call of conflict, India and China must choose the path of peace, dialogue, and shared progress, paving the way for a brighter and more prosperous future for all.